This is Matt McCarty. I'm the Director of Sales for Pathmaker Group. Thank you very much for joining the webcast today where we, Pathmaker Group and Oracle, are going to talk about ID and access management solutions. We're going to wait just 2 minutes. Everyone get signed in, and then we'll kick it off. So just sit tight, and we'll start in 2 minutes. Thanks. We'll get started here in just 1 minute. We're going to leave just a little more time for everyone to get dialed in, but appreciate you joining. This is the webcast where Pathmaker Group and Oracle talk about identity and access management solutions. Just 1 minute. Okay, started. My name is Matt McCarty. I'm the Director of Sales at Pathmaker Group. We're an Oracle Systems Integrator, and we've been installing identity and access management security solutions for years. And appreciate you joining us. We've got a really good webcast here for the next hour. I think you're really going to like the content. We've put a lot of thought, and we're planning it to make sure that it's a good use of your time. It's going to be valuable for you. I have 2 people on with me. One, Matt Brzezinski. Matt's a product manager from Oracle. In just a minute, he's going to tell the presentation. He's going to talk about the Oracle Identity and Access Management tools, security tools. Talk a little bit about where Oracle's taken them, a roadmap. He'll talk a little bit about the industry and trends. And then we're going to turn it over to Jerry Castile. Jerry is the Chief Architect at Pathmaker Group. And then he's going to talk a little more specifically about implementations. He's going to talk about implementation typically go, best practices, and then he's going to give some specific case study examples of customers that we've worked with and how they've deployed the tools and worked for them. So a couple things before we get started. One is we are recording this, so we replay. If anybody's not comfortable with that, might be a good time to drop off the call. Another thing is you probably noticed from the side cycling at the beginning, we're going to give away a GoPro. So for everyone that stays on for the duration of the call, we're going to put your names in a drawing, and some lucky person will receive a GoPro for joining us today. And then the point was Q&A. So what we're going to do, rather than have people open up their lines and actually speak their questions, on the lower right-hand side of your webcast screen, there's a place where you can submit written questions to the panelists. Now, we'll save a few minutes at the end to do Q&A, but if you have any questions, please go ahead and type them in, and we'll get those answered. So thanks again for joining us. I hope you enjoy this. And with that, Matt, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Matt. Welcome, everybody. My name is Matt Brzezinski. I am, as Matt said, a Senior Principal Product Manager responsible for identity management at Oracle Corporation. Today, I'm going to sit here and talk to you just a little bit about what we're seeing in our vision. And so, as we get started here, first thing I have to say, this is my safe harbor statement as a product manager. I do talk about our features. It's just basically to say it's just intent for general direction, but as we know, product managers, we give you the best information we know, but things do change. So moving on to the agenda. So today, what I'm going to talk to you a little bit about is what we're seeing in the industry, what changes are out there, and how they're impacting our customers. And then basically going to talk about what we're providing to do that, our different offerings, and where we're going in the future. So with that, let me get started and talk about basically the change that we're seeing in our customers and our deployments out there. Basically, what I see is the digital economy is really affecting everything. And to think about the digital economy, really start to think about is that organizations need to build their websites and build mobile apps to scale and to have the same presence there that they once had in the brick and mortar stores. Whether that's a consumer retail type of environment, whether that's a government service, or whether that's how organizations interact with their employees. Everybody is getting so used to having data given to them in a consumable or consumerized way, basically the consumerization of IT. Everybody has iPhones, everybody has tablets, and people are getting used to like the social media of Twitter, of apps, of mobile apps that deliver concise, crisp information in easy ways. So not only is that what your customers are looking for, but that is also what employees are looking for. So look at some of the things that are driving that. One of the things is, 80% of user access will be mobile by 2020. And these aren't Oracle stats, by the way. These are stats that we've gotten from different industry analysts. But if you stop and think about that, that really means that no one's going to be working from web browsers or going to be working from computers. They're going to be doing most of their interaction off tablets or off phones or something while they're on the go. Cloud computing is becoming the bulk of IT spend. I'm sure everybody's heard about this. We need to deliver services from the cloud. They're easier to get out or quicker to get out to employees or to customers, and they generally have cost of ownership where you don't have to own all that hardware and the data center and everything that goes along with that. So we are seeing organizations shift a lot of their main functionality out to the cloud. And then lastly, just think about this. There will be 26 billion connected devices. So not only are we talking about laptops and phones and tablets, but now we're starting to talk about cars, starting to talk about smart energy, smart home systems, or smart thermostats. I even think Nike has shoes out there that automatically connect and tell somebody how far they ran or walked that day. So you start thinking about all the things that are going to be out there. It's really driving this accelerated rate of change. And so basically what we're seeing is that we need to be able to provide to your customers and to your employees access from anywhere for anyone from any device, and we need to be able to provide the right access. So you need to be able to provide the right access not only for that person, but maybe there's a context around where they're coming in from. Maybe you want to supply certain access from information if they're coming in from inside your building, if they're coming in from a laptop versus a mobile phone or what have you, but it's being able to provide the right information to the right person at the right time, any device possible. And so what we're really trying to see, what we're seeing there is that encompasses your smartphones, that encompasses your enterprise apps that are already on them, or maybe you have them hosted as well. That includes all your cloud resources. So as you're moving to the cloud and providing new to your employees and customers from the cloud, you need to be able to make sure that access is secure and you're providing the right access there. And you're also bringing in social media. And I'm not going to talk too much about social authentication, but I did hear so on the line that 40% of shopping carts are abandoned, and a customer is asked to create an account to join to purchase something. So that means they've already put something in their shopping cart. They wanted to buy it. They're asked to create an account for that site, and now they abandon that shopping cart. And really, all that site's trying to do is get a username and password to be able to market to them later. And that's something where you could have somebody log in via Facebook or Gmail or something, get the information you need, and then let them continue on with their shopping history. So those are some of the trends that we're seeing out there. And so the challenges that they're presenting is basically you to be able to extend what you have on-prem, whatever it is, whether it's Oracle Identity Management or whether it's your own system, a competitor system, homegrown, Microsoft, but you need to be able to extend these controls out to the cloud. out to mobile devices. And so this is where we're seeing the big shift in identity management. It's going from being security at the gates to being business enablement. And so we're also seeing with this huge opportunity to reach people with connected devices, their tablets, their phones, this hugely connected world, we're also seeing a lot of organizations rushing out there to do so. So they're building mobile apps which have identity silos. They're connecting cloud services which have identity silos. And so now, with all these different identity silos, you're introducing complexity into your authentication and identity management solution. So every time you have an identity silo, you have to set security policies there. You have to make sure you're managing how users are getting privileged and deprovisioned from those identity silos. So basically, those identity silos not only bring in huge complexity, they bring in security risks, and they increase cost. And these are some of the things that we're seeing, the challenges with identity management with the economy. And so I like to call this, identity fragmentation. And so basically here we have a diagram that kind of just goes over what I just talked about, where you have your access certification there in the middle, you have federated cloud apps that you're trying to authenticate to, you have mobile apps on the far-hand side, you have your basic SSO and provisioning, which is doing some of your internal application authentication, and then you have application embedded identities, so those identities that are only in the application. So now you have basically 5 different silos here of identities that you're managing. And what that really does is that leads to a breach of customer data due to those inconsistent policies. And let's think about the cost to enforce compliance when you start having to pull all those different identity silos and map them together in some sort of spreadsheet or database or something to figure out, do you have segregation of duty issues? Are some of the federal regulations like SOX, like HIPAA, like NERC, all those different ones that are there. So basically, what we really see here is what you need to be able to do with identity management is to provide this comprehensive end-to-end security, right? It needs to go from your on-prem apps to your cloud apps to your mobile apps. For your customers that are coming in, you need to be able to provide a single pane of glass for people to be able to look at to see who has access to what, determine if they have the proper access, and then to be able to remediate any access that they shouldn't have. The other thing that you want to be able to do is make sure that you're providing a seamless and unified user experience, so that no matter where a user logs on from, they're from one application to the next without ever having to re-authenticate. Right? If they log in from your mobile application, it launches a browser, you want that authentication to be passed straight over. The other thing you want to make sure is that a user has the same access to things from a website as they would from a mobile application. One customer over in Asia Pacific had the #1 mobile bank app a couple of years ago. And the only problem was they built an identity silo. And what they found out is that customers were able to do things in the mobile app that they weren't allowed to do on the website, and that was basically a security thing that they had set up on the website. They didn't want customers to be able to do that, but they didn't replicate that security policy over to the mobile app. So people had different user experiences based on the channel they were coming in from as well. So basically what we see with identity management is you want to be able to, no matter where somebody's coming in from, no matter where your application resides, you want to have one place to go to provide that seamless authentication and that seamless access governance of what people are allowed to have access to all across the board. So when you look at that, we look at that as a unified identity management system that can scale and span from your on-prem apps all the way to mobile apps, including those cloud services you're bringing in. Now what we hear from one of the analysts out there, the unified platform like this produces 48% cost savings. So basically it costs half as much to have a unified identity management solution managing everything. It's 6% more responsive, so almost twice as responsive. And you have about a third fewer audit deficiencies, which means you have a third of a chance, your chances of being on the front page news for some kind of breach are reduced by a third. You have this unified access management system that has consistent access policies across all applications, no matter where they reside. Bit about what we're seeing in the industry today. And so what I want to do now is I want to talk about Oracle Identity Management. Our philosophy is basically, the best of breed, being modular and unified, having internet scale, open standards. Those are all things that every company is going to want to be able to say, right? And when I look at it at Oracle, what's kind of sets us apart is, we're best of breed. We did make a lot of acquisitions of top players in each of their respective to bring together this great solution that we have. Not only did we acquire these companies and the technology that we already had, but we acquired the minds and the people that were there and have pushed them to do better and to make those products better, given you can leverage everything else from Oracle that we have behind the scenes. We do have a unified solution. We continue to unify that solution to bring all the components into common servers, but yet you don't have to install all of it. You don't have to turn on all of it to solve a specific problem. You can buy a solution to solve a specific problem and grow from there, expand it from there. Internet scale, we've gone above and to prove that scale. We have had customers that ask us to do multiple different types of scaling activities, and we run our own software on the Oracle website, which handles a massive amount of scale as well. I kind of look at that scale as you need to be able to, if you look at a brick and mortar where you have to be able to get enough customers in there to buy your solution, well, the same thing with the website or with your mobile app. You need to be able to scale to be able to handle the volume of customers or employees to be able to do what you need to do. And open standards, little known fact that Oracle is very heavy in the standards. We actually sit on the board for SCIM, and we do participate in a lot of other standards. The thing that I have down here is context-aware risk management, and we cover that in two ways. We not only the authentication side, as I talked about, based on who you are, when you're logging in, your login patterns, but also on the identity governance side, we have context-aware risk management. When somebody is asking for access to something, we have the ability to provide the approver a green, yellow, or red type of risk score as to is this fulfill this request, does this violate any rules, things along those lines. So we're building that intelligent risk into both our identity governance access certification side as well as our authentication, strong authentication and entitlement side as well. So when you look at what we're doing, we have the flexibility to handle your mobile apps, your on-prem apps, and your cloud apps. That's definitely key these days when it comes to being able to meet the needs of a digital economy, meet the needs of where people are going. I think 2 years ago I'd walk into rooms and I'd have a mobile app and either say we're planning on it or they would say they don't, and only to find out they did. Now, if I walk in a room, every organization has mobile apps. So you need to be able to manage those mobile apps. You need to be able to manage those cloud service providers. You need to be able to manage that on-prem. You need to be able to do it all from the same place so that it has that single pane of that 360-degree view of your customers or your employees. You need to be able to provide security, right? You need to have risk-aware security. So if somebody tries to log on in DC and then an hour later they try to log on again in China, I'm going to assume that one of those isn't the right person, and I'm going to start to pull back access rights or challenge them for stronger authentication or disable their account, whatever I'm going to do. The other thing that we've built into our solution is privileged account management, so that we have these root accounts or database accounts, shared accounts that people need access to 24/7 in case of emergency or something along those lines. You're able to audit who's doing what with them. And so we've built privileged account management into our identity management solution as well. We talked about scale. I already talked about being able to handle the volume of people that need to be able to get into your environment. You stop and think about it. If you were to go, and you have to wait in line 2 minutes to purchase something, you don't even think about it. You just wait there and wait till the next person's done at the register and you purchase something. You have to wait a half hour, maybe you walk out. On the internet, if you have to wait more than 5 minutes for the shopping cart to come, or more than 5 seconds for a shopping cart to come up, you've lost. You're obviously, that customer's gone there someplace else. So if you stop to think about authenticating, it needs to be quick, it needs to be fast, it needs to be scalable, and it needs to be easy. So this person isn't being prompted their username and password everywhere they go on your website. I used to bank at a banking organization that just happened to acquire my savings account organization and happened to acquire my credit card account organization. And every time I went to their webpage, I had to log in to try three different username passwords for the three different things I wanted to do on their website. And I got so frustrated with it that I actually, changed banks. Those are the types of things that we need to resolve with a unified identity management system in the economy. Look at it, we have a huge amount of customers that are adopting our latest release, the 11G R2. We're now on SP2, so it's 11G R2, PS2. So that's where we are right now. You can see that we have customers we have a lot of big name accounts that are pushing this out. We have customers that are adapting our mobile strategy, understanding that they need to be able to interact mobilely and tie that back into their identity management system. And we have customers that are either integrating to cloud apps or providing cloud identity management solutions through our system as well. So I look at identity management. I look at where did identity management come from and where is it going? And as I said earlier, identity management always used to be the guards at the gate, right? It used to be security. It used to kind of be like the dogs down there and stuff along those lines. And so what I look at is, and I've been in identity management for 15 years now, if not more. And so what we really see is that we went from these basic things of provisioning, single sign-on, and directory. Right? Directory is where we need to store everything. Single sign-on is, hey, wouldn't it be cool if somebody has the same password all the way around so I don't have to type in usernames and passwords? Provisioning saying, wouldn't it be great if we knew who had access to what, whether that was a department managed that with a spreadsheet or some rudimentary scripts that just started back then. This is where everything started. They start to look at, so I have this directory, it's great, I can keep user information, email addresses, stuff along those lines, I can store some data in it. It was great, and there's some directories out there there's some organizations that are probably still running Novell NetWare from way back again as a directory or e-directory. And it's running probably still meeting their needs. But these aren't organizations that have scaled out to the cloud, right? So now you got to be able to figure out how do you support that amount of data into the cloud? And with the cloud and with mobile devices, you get so much more data to manage, like a GPS location for a mobile device. You need to be able to do that to be able to leverage of the consumer experience. Single one, we went from maybe password synchronization, maybe some client agents that to formful to web single sign-on, then to federation, then to social sign-on, then YAML. Now you have cloud-based single sign-on. And so now what you need to be able to do is provide that seamless and secure access. We've always had strong authentication. Because people are moving to a mobile device, you need to be able to authenticate. That your strong authentication becomes even more important. Number one, mobile devices can be lost very easily or stolen. And number two, you can't ask somebody to put a smart card in their phone. It just doesn't work. And ask somebody to always pull out an RSA fob and type in a one-digit password, or one-time password. You can't ask people to have really complex passwords and put them in all the time because typing on the phone is really hard. So what we want to be able to do is make sure that you can deliver a high level of security while making it as simple as possible. And so one of the things you can do is you can authenticate the device, so you have the device registered so you know that the device goes with that person, so it's an authenticated device. That increases the chances of security. And number two, you can make password, you have your passwords there, but if it's a pattern that doesn't match, if they're logging in from a period of time that you might not want them to or they haven't in the past, then you can challenge for that one-time password, and maybe it's a soft token that is a text that gets sent to the phone. So you have that level of security, but also able to make sure that you are providing the right authentication. And finally, when we look at provisioning, what you really want to be able to do is this has gone from how do I make sure people have access to the applications they need, now it's to how do I make sure they have the right level of access and only access that they need. So we pretty much have gone from make sure people can do their job and give them access to just about anything. Let's figure out what the least possible rights are that a person needs to do their job. on top of that, what we've really seen is a huge push for self-service. So users can go out and self-service request access to applications, do password reset, things along those lines, which has sped up and made things more efficient, but it's also put a higher strain on the IT department to be able to process and approve those requests. So now we've moved that over to a business line improver and give them the information so that request can go via email to their manager. And in that email, we can have a very business-like look and feel for an Excel spreadsheet or an email that I said has a risk score red, yellow, green to say, hey, this is what the user needs access to this. That's kind of where we're seeing things grow. So quickly, I'm going to kind of go over our four main product suites in the Oracle Identity Management Solution is our Oracle Mobile Security Suite, our Identity Governance Suite, our Directory Services, and our Access Management. Our Directory Services, I'm not going to spend much time on it, but really what we've done is we've taken the Sun Directory, we've taken the Oracle Directory, and we're really taking the best of both of those. And we've come out with a completely new directory called Oracle Unified Directory, which has huge performance capabilities over DSEE, incorporates virtualized directory, and is really the next generation for scalability for our customers. So look at Oracle Identity Governance. What I like to look at here is it's a unified approach to complete identity governance, right? And so if you look at, I have slides that are all going to look pretty much the same. If you look at these diagrams on the left, it's basically the four key things that we're providing are the big four red boxes. The three gray layers is kind of the engine that makes everything happen. And you go into on-prem, in the cloud, in managed cloud services, and we're providing these services to enterprise clouds and mobile apps. We're providing access requests, so you can do that out of the box, simplified self-access requests, access certification. We're automating that provisioning. More importantly, we're automating deprovisioning. So if somebody has access to a cloud application, they leave the organization, make sure that username and password and that access is cut off immediately. We leverage connector framework to do access certification, real-time provisioning, real-time remediation, and privileged account management. So what we're looking at for identity governance, if you look at what's important in an Oracle identity governance solution or what's important in any solution, we have to hold this a business-friendly request catalog so that an end user knows what they're looking at, what they're asking for. You have intelligent and flexible certification, so you can manage those complex types of certification things where we can do team, we can do 2 out of 3, you can do different kinds of certifications, or you can do automated certifications. You want to line the business process, and you want to have this modular and pluggable architecture so that you can bring in access certification or real-time provisioning. So that's one of the key differentiators for the Oracle solution. Now we're going on to the access management. And what we're here is at a complete approach to authentication, authorization, and in your audit. And so once again, we have a common policy model, we have scalability, and we have unified management that delivers authentication, to web apps, mobile apps, through social, and even incorporates the Internet of Things. We do authorization. We can do real-time authorizations based on that risk score. So if you have contextual aware authentication, which can tell these contextual keys into play, we can real-time adjust your authorizations or your entitlements at that point in time, and you don't have to put all that in your application. We can federation, so we can do all that standards-based. We can do OAuth, we can do SAML, we can do different things you need to do in federation. And then we have a mobile install API, and that mobile API allows you to build your mobile applications and integrate that access management into your back-end access management provider, provide single sign-on across all your mobile applications that you're deploying to a single device, and if you launch a browser from that mobile application, provide the single sign-on there. And so these are the types of things that we're looking at in our access management suite. Things, that I didn't touch on there was fraud prevention, strong authentication. Those are some of the key things. The key solution requirements. The big thing is the seamless multi-channel access, which provides access to any application from any device, anywhere. Be able to do that in a scalable way and able to do that on standards-based architecture. This is really what we're looking at with our unified access solution. And then I want to touch briefly about our Oracle Mobile Security. What we're really seeing is with the consumerization of IT and everybody having an iPhone, an iPad, or a Google device, or an Android, or what have you, people want to be able to be productive on that phone, whether it's just to get their email, but they're also expecting work productivity apps from their organization as well. And when this BYOD first, or bring your own device, first came out, everybody responded like they were laptops. We're going to lock down the whole device. And some people put up with that, but a lot of people didn't like the fact that this is my personal device I just spent $400 for, and you're telling me what I can and can't do with it. Oh, and if you get upset with me or leave the company, you're going to wipe it and take away all my personal pictures of my family vacation that I took that are still on my phone. So people didn't like that. So now you see all the organizations coming out with a containerization type of solution. In Oracle, we have a containerization solution where we can manage your mobile applications inside a container. We can provide single sign-on. We can prevent data leakage from it being posted to Dropbox or anything along those lines. We can do app isolation so you can't talk to email, different things along those. And we provide that secure access because we tie all that back into our access management suite. And so when we looked at, what a mobile security solution, it's basically a container where you put all these boundaries. It's a secure connection back to the enterprise, and then it's a bunch of policies and security settings and groups, which is just an identity management solution. So that's what we have. We can do it for consumer mobile apps. You can use the mobile social SDK to enable consumer mobile apps. You can do it for enterprise mobile apps, and you can do that secure container, the BYOD offering. So basically, you're managing the corporate data, not the devices. You do have a mobile device management solution as well, not a requisite though for BYOD. There's security in our solution. There's no cross credentials, and we have a secure communications channel instead of a VPN. And if I was doing a security presentation, a mobile security presentation, I could talk for 10 minutes as to why that's so much better than a VPN. So that's our products in eye level. I'm just going to spend a minute here on our roadmap. Basically, as we look at our roadmap, we're continuing to push towards the cloud to deliver identity management in the cloud, to be able to make sure that the identity management solutions that are on-prem or are hosted by some of our partners are able to connect to those cloud applications. We're continuing to enhance our governance solution to make it more intelligent, to make it be able to handle data type of governance, make it more understanding out there. And then, of course, the big push to mobile, making sure that mobile is integrated with everything we do. In our own release, all of our mobile capabilities are going to be integrated into our governance and access suite. So you can actually do birthright provisioning of mobile apps to users as they come on board, just as something that goes on. As we said, we're seeing the Internet of Things. We're seeing that there's many more devices out there we can predict. Who would have thought a year ago that sneakers have, that can connect to the Internet to be able to upload your data, right? So we're seeing cars, we're seeing all these things connect to the Internet. All of them require security, and all of them require some kind of management for those identities. So look at the new security requirements out there that you're seeing. You still have user authentication. Now you have device authentication. You have application data. You need to register those devices. Some of the things that we're doing now, the device container, device registration, device authentication, user authentication, application data, and these are all things that we're doing, right? The volume is going to increase because not only the user volume increasing as more people get on the Internet, but you have the devices out there as well. And then in the case of a car, you have multi-user devices. So both the husband and the wife drive the same car. So basically what we're really seeing is a single platform. It says for all devices, but it should say for all identities, right? Whether it's a user identity, a device identity, a machine identity, or what have you, we're seeing a single platform to handle your authentication, your authorization, your device management, policies, your controls, what people access to, your access governance and certification, and to be able to scale to handle that user volume. That's where we see ourselves going for Oracle, is to make sure that we're going to handle not only your enterprise needs of today, but as you're expanding out there in the digital economy and you see these other things coming, we're going to be ready for those as well. So I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to get on talking here, and I'm going to pass it over to Jerry Castile to kind of talk. He's going to talk about some of the implementations that Pathmaker has done. So I've made you a presenter, and it's all yours.
Thank you, Matt. This is Jerry Castillo. I'm with the Chief Architect of the Pathmaker Group. Like I said, I want to talk a little bit about our implementations that we've done in the past and our methodology for, how we help our customers implement this incredible suite of products that Oracle has provided to us. Pathmaker Group, we've been implementing identity and access management solutions for quite about 2003. Got a lot of really good success stories with some pretty large environments. So, I wanted to have an opportunity to talk to you about, we've got the tools, that Oracle's provided us and provides its customers that enable these capabilities to secure your environment. But, the tools will get you there, but, there's a lot of steps that should take place to make sure that these products to implement them go smoothly and that requirements are met and users get the experience that they want. As a company, Pathmaker offers identity and access management services around putting together any planning that needs to happen pre-project, as well as a roadmap for what long-term goals are, aligning what those goals are with particular products that are offered in the marketplace, as product implementation, hosting, managed services, and doing any kind of 24/7 support. These solutions are deployed in a bubble, so we do customer training and some mentoring around what to do with these products now that you have them in house and how best to utilize them, have them grow in your organization. In addition to security services, identity and access management services, we do provide services around just pure security offerings, from security assessments, gap remediation, any implementations, anything you'd expect to see around any security offerings that an organization would offer. Additionally, we also provide hosting services in a cloud-based environment with 24/7 monitoring and case management. Working with Amazon for our solutions. They have a very stellar platform that is very robust that we found our customers are very happy with. So, if this decision is made, hey, we want these components, but maybe it's appropriate that they live on-premise and they need to be hosted, to have these hosted in a cloud-based environment, we can certainly provide some advice and potentially hosting solutions as well. As you can see on this slide, identity and access management really is a subset of a much broader security program and security that most organizations have to deal with. But today we're going to be focusing on the identity and access management services. Certainly provide services and consulting around other areas of a broader security program. Definition for identity and access management is really, how an organization defines who people are, what they're allowed to do, when they're allowed to do it, and systems of policies and processes and tools that allow us to establish and enforce those enforce those policies. So, an organization is really concerned with make sure that their users are able to get to their application and their functionality when they do, but also have it be secure. So, what we typically would the situation is we'd come in and we'd take a look at what your user identity lifecycle is from a provisioning standpoint, where your users live, what their identities look like, what current processes are for creating accounts, how your users manage their passwords, how users' roles are managed as well in the organization, any type of separation of duties or governance type steps need to happen, and during user identity lifecycle, there's the governance steps of making sure that policies are adhered to, and that any steps in this flow are covered. Hello, my technical difficulty, my phone disconnected. So, during this, during a provisioning life cycle, we typically go and analyze during projects, these steps involved in your current organization and how best to optimize those flows on the provisioning side. On the Oracle Access, on the access management side, we come in and talk about what policies for your applications should look like, what applications should participate in a sign-on scheme, and requirements that you might have for federation, as well as any back-end SOA security or multi-factor authentication requirements that you might have. Say you've got an application that requires additional security, maybe some stepped-up authentication, and you want to work with somebody to use a token-based authentication when they want to test that application, even though they've already been authenticated. We might have a requirement to go ahead and say, okay, this is a more secure application. We might step up authentication a little bit and require you to do some factor authentication mechanisms via fob or some sort of hardware token. Once we've identified and implemented, solid provisioning and access mechanisms, once they're in place, you really have a total view of your security infrastructure from a user perspective, and can use that then to form any wording or prevent any kind of malicious activities down the road. With regards to the Oracle Identity Stack, we've worked with the Oracle Identity Suite in the 4 areas that Matt pointed out: lifecycle governance, identity and access management, mobile security. We've had some select successes working with these tools. These are the suite of products that Matt was talking about. So when we think about implementing these products, long term, what are we really talking about? The first thing we really want to do is all stuff is driven from business requirements, right? So, there's a lot of things in that bucket about what you want your user experience to look like, what your applications need, how they need to function, all security requirements, but what needs to be protected, why, when, and how. So identifying those drivers up front is very important, and making sure you have the right people in the room, and listing those out. So we do have a methodology for actually going through these lists of these key drivers and identifying which one of these drivers are important to your organization. So, we go through and we look at these over 100 features and functions that probably could be important to your organization and pick out the ones that are. Right? And then using that list within a longer-term roadmap, that enables us to set some milestones, right? So one of the things that we see happening with organizations and their identity and access management implementations, a lot of times organizations will bite off a whole lot up front. It's really important to phase these things into manageable wins and manageable phases, so that you're not making too much change up front that can only have a negative impact on the success of a project. So, getting in first, getting the infrastructure in place, and mapping out some low-hanging fruit to get some quick wins. A great way to get organization buy-in and buy-in from other members of your team, which is key to success with these types of projects. so typically, talk about the majority of an identity and access management solution in an organization. We want to bite off phases that are 4 to 6 months in duration. Anything longer than that, and help run risk of things like scope creep and problems with, getting your hands around exactly what you're trying to solve, during this phase of implementing a longer-term identity and access management roadmap. So, these 4 to 6 month terms of projects work because you can show those wins in a pretty reasonable time frame and then move on down the road. Sort of phase one, we make sure that the foundation is there, that your directory services strategy, where you're storing your users, is solid. Your how those different directories and where your different identities are stored or integrated together. Maybe your users are using consistent credentials across those sources, so we don't have to deal with any of that stuff down the road. As well as your users acclimated to a single sign-on type environment where they just provide credentials once to get access to applications that you've enabled. Phase 2 and phase 3, then we start talking about making sure that you've unified how your provision accounts to your target systems and to either cloud-based service providers or in on-premise applications, and integrated with any sort of federated single sign-on providers that you've got. So again, users, when going outside of the enterprise to access business functionality that may be hosted by an access provider, aren't required to authenticate or manage those credentials for that application as well, because that can generate cost of help desk, which we all know costs money to remediate. And then moving on to a more mature solution is when we start talking about separation of duties and how do we automate policy enforcement when business rules change. We don't have to go back in and rule everything. We want this this stuff to work based on policies that are defined and policy changes that are inevitably going to happen and come out of this unit. So we things that learned implementing these IAM solutions over. So I've been doing identity and access management for about 14 years now. If you follow a methodology and adhere to a mechanism for making sure you plan and define your projects in long term, as well as define individual reasonably sized phases, and each one of those phases move into doing the design. And then finally, once all the planning and design has been done, doing the implementation. These technologies can be a little complex. The user management and with the change in the landscape of devices and technology that constantly happens, you have to be able to be flexible. We're able to make these tools effective even in really high-scale, complex environments. And sometimes environments are going to be complex simply because of scale, but because of business process. So having a methodology for identifying where those business processes be integrated into an identity and access management project is something we certainly bring to bear. We found that through urgent planning and design effort up front, and making sure that we target specific goals through the life cycle, we've seen a lot of customer success. So what I wanted to talk about briefly was a few cases around where we've seen these successes, and how we've implemented the Oracle suite of identity and access management products various customers. The first that I'd like to bring up is T-Mobile. Anybody here in the U.S. will certainly recognize this name. They have also recently acquired Metro PCS, and they've got a number of users, actually it's well over 1.5 million users now, and they wanted to be able to make it, obviously, so that users that go to the site can log in, and they've got a various set of applications on the back end, although it looks like a unified set. Log in, provide credentials, and also access things like bill pay through mobile devices so that customers can manage their account. So utilizing, Oracle's access management product, we've come in and helped implement a single sign-on solution and security token solution for mobile payments that's supporting these users now. Currently, provide 24/7 support for this system. It really, allows their users just to have a seamless login experience while allowing mobile Metro PCS to be able to, perform those security functions like audit and know, when a person did what action and trace back those actions. As you can imagine, there's potential for a lot of fraud in the mobile device space, and they're a mobile provider. So he has to keep an eye on who's coming in and what they're trying to do with accounts and phone numbers. So that was it's a very cool use case. It's a very large scale, obviously, in the millions of users, and Oracle products certainly are able to handle that scale. Another interesting use case is for the state of Nevada. For the state of Nevada's Department of Education, Rehabilitation, and Training, employee unemployed insurance program. So basically, employers and all the residents of the state who are requesting unemployment insurance benefits need to be able to access a portal that was designed with Oracle partner to access information about either their claims for unemployment insurance or as employers to register who their employees were, and so they can track benefits. So I can imagine there was a very complex set of rules and concerns around things like fraud. At State of Nevada, we implemented the Oracle Access Manager product to provide single sign-on across those applications using Oracle Identity Manager to manage provisioning of accounts and self-service registration. One of the more interesting components of this solution, though, was the use of the Oracle Adaptive Access Management tool for prevention. What we do is, instead of just asking for username and password, we also present the user, some information and gather information about a user and where they're coming from, and so they utilize some policies to detect, where people logged in from, if they're logging from areas that they shouldn't be trying to access certain functions, and attempts to do so that are lower risk or high risk will also trigger, security investigation that's managed within the application and then is remediated by a group within the state organization. And this supports all employers and residents in the state of Nevada. Another use case we've got is for a manufacturing customer. They had a lot of distributors that needed to access their applications for placing orders and do designs for their products. So they had a custom web portal that they built on the front end on top of some Oracle technology, and wanted to be able to have a unified user management experience across their external customers and distributors, but also for their internal employees. So utilizing Oracle Access Manager, their identity manager for provisioning, generation, and obviously directory underneath all of it, we were able to help them build and design a solution that allows all of their users, distributors to access their systems and work seamlessly in an environment that had unified audit controls across the board. Finally, another use case was with Westar Energy out of Topeka, Kansas. Westar is a very electricity utility company with a good user set. They have a lot of partners that provide software service for back-end management of a lot of these services that they provide, bill pay, emergency service notifications to their end users, and back-end office functions. So they had wired a mechanism, as you know, some of these software service providers, how you get or give requests to them aren't always consistent across providers. So they need a mechanism to translate and verify those back-end service requests, non-browser type requests to these service providers, to ensure that they were secured and transformed to the type of message that they need to receive or get from those providers. So utilizing Oracle's API gateway to build a layer of security around those back-end service requests that were going to and from those external service providers. So, one thing to take from this sort of wider range of case studies is that, regardless of scale or vertical market, Oracle security products certainly are able to meet those requirements. Able to rapidly prototype any demos customize any demos for any requirements that you guys might have. So, if there are any of these products that you think might be a fit, or you have any questions about, may want to see some of these things and kick the tires a bit, certainly contact your Oracle sales guys, and they can coordinate with us if required to build out pretty rapidly a demo that's tailored for your specific questions. With that, I'm going to go ahead and pass the presentation back to Matt for Q&A.
Yep, Jerry and Matt, thanks a lot. They talked earlier on, there's going to be, we got a little time left for Q&A. We did get a question sent over. Question is, is there any fraudulent alerts or reports available to audit and prevent malicious activities? Matt, I'll put you on the spot and ask you, do you want to address that?
Everything that we do and everything that's done through our system is written to an audit file, and it comes out through a BI editor. I'm not sure if the questions are around real-time types of alerting and things along those lines. Something that's provided by the identity management system, but you can integrate it with different systems that do provide real-time alerts if you have one in place. It can tie into our BI reporting infrastructure. So yes, it's audited, everything's done, but as far as real-time alerts, our system isn't putting those, but can work with systems that do.
Okay, and I got another question. So when will IDM 12C, when will it be released? Or in other words, which release of IDM is certified with Microsoft Active Directory 2012 R2? Matt, another question for you.
There's another question for me. First thing is that we do have a release coming out that's going to happen prior to 12C, and that's R2 PS3. That release should be out, is scheduled to be out here in the first half of 2015 calendar year. I believe that release is certified with Active Directory 2012 R2, but I would have to go back and check all the different components to see. It will be in the certification matrix, so just keep an eye out for that release.
Okay, I have a question for you, Matt. When I talk with various customers about these tools, they realize that they're very powerful and can scale up to numbers. But what some people take that and they assume, well, that's probably not for me. I'm a smaller shop, so it's probably not the right fit. Could you speak a little bit just to the fact that not only are these tools good for large corporations, tens of thousands of users, but there's still a lot of customers getting value out of these tools, and they don't have that number of users?
Absolutely. We have a lot of customers that are in the for small to mid-range customer type, our user types of populations. We see a lot of customers out there that have maybe 1,000, maybe as low as like 700 to 1,000 to 2,000 employees, or 10,000 external users, things along those lines. They're all getting a lot of value out of this tool, and that's automating their ability to provide access to applications. It's providing single sign-on across all their applications. And where they really see the value is once this is systems up in place, the extreme efficiencies that there are of adding new applications to the system. So as you want to bring in a web service and you want to be able to provide that single sign-on experience, you already have the infrastructure in place. And so down the line, these small to medium businesses can leverage the functionality, can get tremendous advantages from it. Just because, and I understand, Matt, what you're saying, that, hey, we handle scalable scaling organizations, and people go, oh, that must mean it's complex and it must have a lot of configuration. As Gary can probably attest to, products are pretty simple to install. Every release we come out with, we try to make them simpler, and to get the basic configurations up and running and do those basic workflows is pretty straightforward and out of the box. So we are striving to make sure that these products can be leveraged by the smaller customers as well as our large, high user volume customers as well.
Great. Well, that's the last of the questions. Nobody's posted any more. So we'll go ahead and conclude the call. I want to thank everyone for giving us an hour of your time. I hope you found it valuable for you. Matt and Jerry, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to plan this out and share the information that you have. And we will do the drawing for all of you who stayed on, and we will get done for the GoPro. And thank you very much for joining, and I appreciate your time, and I hope everyone has a great afternoon. And this conclusion of the call. Bye-bye.